Hey, I'm Carla Bonner. As some of you may or may not know, I've embarked on a journey of seeking answers into the contaminated blood scandal that authorities thought that they could just sweep under the rug many, many years ago, but they were warned that if they did not properly address this situation of contaminated blood, that the victims' children would be back to finish this battle. Well, hello, 35 years later, here I am, wanting answers along with many others, after finding out only 4 weeks ago that my father's death may in fact not be the accident that me and my family were led to believe. So here I am today talking with Charles MacKenzie. Charles is a medical error researcher, the contaminated blood campaigner, and has led this fight for the last 30 years on behalf of the Australian victims, and has called for a Royal Commission of Inquiry into this scandal. Charles is also a participant of the largest inquiry in British history, the Infected Blood Inquiry. And apart from anything else, he is an absolute wealth of knowledge. Welcome, Charles. Thank you for talking with me today.
G'day, Carla. How you doing?
I'm wanting answers.
Yes, well, I think we all are. A lot of people in the United Kingdom have been wanting answers for decades, and a lot of people down here in Australia who I might say are the forgotten victims in all of this. They've been wanting answers for decades too about these thousands of infections from our blood supply.
So what are we wanting to do today, Charles?
We're wanting to warn Australians about their potential risk to contaminated blood. You know, this scandal happened in Australia and it happened in the United Kingdom. And what it was to do with was that our blood supply, things that, you know, the blood supply created blood transfusions. So you get hospital patients, you might have been a accident victim, you might have been a cancer patient, you might have been a woman giving birth, you might have needed blood, you might have been a haemophiliac that needed a blood product. And the thing is that if you'd had any of those blood transfusions or blood product infusions in the 70s or 80s or 90s, you might not have known that the blood supply was contaminated by this virus called hepatitis C. And at other times it was contaminated by a virus called HIV, okay, which could lead to AIDS. So essentially what's happened is that what a lot of people don't know out there, and not just in Australia, but in the UK, United Kingdom also, is that there could potentially be quite a few people out there that don't know that they've got this debilitating virus called hepatitis C. And so what we're doing today is to try and let people know, first of all, that what the risks are and what they can do about it. And the first thing that I'm going to say is to go and get tested, to go and see their GPs, and if they think that they've had a blood product or a transfusion in the 70s or 80s or 90s, then maybe they should just have that assurity of knowledge to get tested and understand whether they might have been exposed to something like hepatitis C.
Right. Right. And so how many people do you believe are infected, both here in Australia and the UK?
All we get is estimates. And what we know is that the UK, they've bandied around estimates that there may be up to 30,000 patients that have been exposed to tainted blood. Yeah, 30,000 human beings, innocent patients exposed to this tainted blood. And there's been something like, estimates are about 20,000 Australian patients.
So there could still be, well, there are still people out there that don't know they're infected.
Well, yes, there are, and that's why I'm so concerned. In fact, the chair of the UK inquiry, the Infected Blood Inquiry, Sir Brian Langstaff, he has urged the British to do more for testing, and I echo those views. I've said for years, in fact decades, that even I approached the Senate of Australia and I said on the floor of the Senate that there needs to be a recall done, that women tested who got blood for in childbirth need to be tested, not to panic them. There's nothing to be panicked about. See your GPs, they'll understand and get tested. That's all we're saying. But we just, I'll give an example of people that might not know, okay? Classic case. So, okay, say you're a woman and you've given birth in the 1980s. You've given birth and the doctor comes along and says, you know, we think you might need to recover sooner. You're a bit tired, a bit anemic. That's a classic one. You're a bit anemic. They're ridiculous. Some of these doctors did the wrong thing, because what we now know that's emerging out of this inquiry in the UK is that doctors knew basically decades before that every time you use blood, there's a risk of something like hepatitis. It really should only be used in life and death circumstances. And yet they were doling it out to these women to recover faster often after having children. And of course, the doctors say nothing's wrong, there's nothing to be worried about. Well, they have their children, they spend decades wondering what's wrong with them. They're given antidepressants because the doctors say, oh, you must be feeling depressed because you're obviously clearly not bouncing for joy all the time. And what they didn't know was that they had this virus called hepatitis C that was making them depressed, that was making them sick, that was making them tired, that was doing all these terrible things, and all the while injuring their livers.
But it's not only the infected, Charles, is it, that we're reaching out to? It's the affected, which are the children, which are the people that had to that lived with this pain and these incessant health conditions with their parents or with their carer, whoever this person was to them. And these people, as a result, have grown up with these really, these belief systems about their worth, or them being, a bad person because it's their fault. They feel they're to blame. Or they don't even know why, but they've had a traumatic life and they're on medication. The doctors have just whacked them on medication, to deal with this, but to deal with these depressive episodes they have, or how they generally feel about themselves. But some of them have actually got PTSD, right? From the trauma of what they've endured.
Yes, they do. They're having problems with their own relationships going forward. They're having problems with their own marriages, or they're having problems relating to other people. So what I'd really like to let everybody understand is we're going to turn the corner now. We want to end this right now. We want the Australian government, the British government, to be far more upfront about what's happened, educate the public, let them know about contaminated blood, and let these children, the children of these victims, let them know you are very much in our minds. We'd love for you to make contact. We'd like to talk to you about things that can be done to make, help you deal with what's happened, and work on things like, if you might be affected by post-traumatic stress disorder, come and see us, because that's a big thing for our group. And so, yes, to the affected, what we want to do is let them know that there are ways that they can process this, and there's help that they can get.
Yeah, and that they don't have to grieve alone anymore, and that there is, from here on, there is help available, and quality of life ensues. It's
and conversations with people who get you, who understand you. You don't have to. I mean, we've even had children who have invented stories because there's so much shame around contaminated blood. So they've said, oh, my dad or my mother died of cancer, that kind of thing. You won't have to worry about that with us. When you make contact,
it's a place of belonging, right? So
I became aware of a young woman recently that got married. What a wonderful thing. You get married to the love of your life. And I believe she was married overseas. This is a great occasion for anyone, right? But she was one of those babies that had a mother that was given overprescribed this blood because the mother had been anemic and needed to recover faster from childbirth or whatever, or maybe it had a bleed, right? So the daughter gets married, but she got infected from the mother. She got the hep C, the mother got the hep C from the blood transfusion, the mother gets the hep C, and now the baby gets the hep C. And no one's warned them. No one said, look, your mother got hep C, you should get tested too. So what happens? 35 years later, 36 later, you get married to the love of your life. And what do you know? She finds out right after getting married that she's got hepatitis C. And now, there you go, the nightmare. Your mother got it, and now right after your wedding day, you've got it. This is not good enough. No. This shouldn't be happening in a first world country. It shouldn't be happening in Australia. It shouldn't be happening in the UK.